Hey, it's Jay. I haven't seen the Rockford Files before. It just never aired on any of the channels I watched, but as I'm looking at more 70s shows, and I was lent the box set of Season 2, I figured I should spend some time to check it out, see what this Rockford guy is up to. But first, a tiny call to action, like subscribe, look at the Patreon, we live in a society. Alright, cool, let's go. The Rockford Files was created by Stephen J. Cannell and his mentor Roy Huggins and aired from 1974 to 1980. It follows the cases of private detective Jim Rockford, an ex-con in LA who went to San Quentin for 5 years on a bum rap, according to him, something to do with robbing a bank. The titular files are meant to be the files that the police don't get around to solving because they don't care, but by season 2 they have kind of forgotten about this aspect of it. Mostly he gets his clients by referral or because some goons show up to his mobile home parked on the beach that Rockford lives and works out of and tries to punch him in the stomach. It happens a lot. Jim has a very specific requirement for taking a case. His fee is very important to him.
My fee is $200 a day plus expenses.
$200 a day plus expenses.
It's $200 a day plus expenses. I don't want to shock you, Miss Butler, but it costs $200 a day plus expenses.
$200.
Plus expenses.
He will not get involved if he thinks organized crime is involved. Those guys are nuts. They are dangerous. Also, sometimes he just doesn't want to do it if he's catching bad vibes.
Are you always this hard to hire?
He's not a hero. He's a professional. And it's kind of funny how often he decides that he's just giving up.
We could forget the whole thing. After all, we don't owe any of these people anything. Now, don't go heroic on me.
You're right. Let's get out of here.
He also abhors violence and will do pretty much anything to not get into a fight. He doesn't even carry a gun, mainly because he can't get a license for one, because of his criminal record. Jim has some support in his endeavors. There's his father, Rocky, a former truck driver who loves his son and wants him to stay out of trouble. There's his friend on the force, Dennis Becker, a police sergeant, who will assist him even though everyone else on the force hates Rockford. There's Beth, a lawyer that he is dating? Not dating? Whatever their situationship is, she knows the law and frequently is willing to help him with any legal trouble he has. There's also his buddy Angel Martin, this wheezy little creep who works at the newspaper and is trying really hard to stay out of trouble. I mean, unless there's a way to make some good money, of course. That's all you'll need to know to enjoy the Rockford Files. It's mostly just James Gardner schmarming around and being charming, solving crimes, occasionally doing large elaborate cons, and spending an absurd amount of time in his car. At least 5 minutes of each episode is watching Jim drive from place to place. He lives in Los Angeles, it's a car town. And because he drives all over the place, he is frequently being tailed. If there is one thing that Jim Rockford knows, it's when he's being followed. It happens so often and he usually catches wise pretty quickly, and he always seems to have a plan to get rid of them. Sometimes it doesn't work, but usually he gets away, though not always cleanly. And of course, he never uses the same trick every time, because where would be the fun in that? So a list for you, every time Rockford gets tailed during Season 2, from his most tepid response to his most bonkers. The first episode of the season features a visit from an old family member, Aaron Ironwood, Jim's foster brother who has grown out to be a huge success, except not really, he's actually running a Ponzi scheme, and is being leaned on by the mafia to sell his company to them. Not to mention that the government is onto his scheme and is about to drop the hammer on him. So Aaron's plan involves giving his company to Jim, which will somehow solve all the problems. It does not. It kind of ruins Jim's week, because now the mafia and the federal agents are bothering Jim instead. He has to escape from the mob in Pizza Dan's car, and that gets hauled in for questioning by Ken Swafford, that bastard.
Shut up, Rockford, or I'll get something on you too.
Like what?
Like assault and battery. Look at him. Poor fella.
You wouldn't dare.
While he's heading home from being held by the government, he takes a taxi home and is very obviously followed by the mafia. His taxi driver with her cute little hat notices and offers to get rid of them for $5, but Jim's tired, he'll deal with that later.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Forget it, I like him back there.
Suit yourself.
Anyway, Jim and his foster brother don't get murdered by the mafia, the feds swoop in and arrest everyone instead, and Aaron is going to jail for several years for his fraud. It's cool though, he's optimistic, he's going to start agitating for prison reform.
When you're doing time, keep your nose clean, don't talk to people, kind of live within yourself. But you start stirring the pot, they'll land on you.
No, Jim, I got to give it a go. It could be a great opportunity. It's like a whole new career, kind of. I'm going to call it Dare to Be Free.
He is so getting shivved. One day, Isaac Hayes shows up on Jim Rockford's doorstep and won't leave him alone. He's Gandalf Finch, or Gandy, who was the worst roommate in San Quentin, so much so that new inmates were intentionally bunked with him to break their spirits. Jim owes Gandy $1,500 and he's not going to leave until he gets it, and Jim can't really float that right now. So Gandy agrees to take the money and services if Jim will help him find the person who killed his girlfriend, the crime he went away for, so he could then kill that person as revenge. Turns out Gandy is a real piece of shit. He's violent and relentless, and we discover he was frequently beating his girlfriend, leaving her in such a state of terror that she never told him they had 2 children together, and eventually committing suicide and framing Gandy for her death. It ends up being a lot, as the episode finishes with Gandy realizing just how goddamn awful he was and figuring out how to carry forward. Rockford is pretty laissez-faire about the whole thing, letting things play out. Like when he realizes his children have been following them, so he lets Gandy get kidnapped and taken to the park to get murdered by them as revenge. Don't worry, he tails them so he's around to de-escalate and force them to talk to each other. It's a real impactful episode, really, with some complex characterization, and probably the best episode of the season. Also, there's a character in the episode called Pebbles Runkin, a crime lord who bought Gandy's services, who is now a mostly legitimate businessman, has a building named after him now. There is a minor character in Baywatch Nights, an information broker, who is also named Pebbles Runkin, presumably as a reference to this character, except they have literally nothing in common. Guess the Baywatch Nights writer just really liked the name. Rockford is making a sandwich when a lady comes in with a job to look into her sister's suicide, and Jim promises to look into it, and while he's investigating, we see a couple of guys are following him, completely confused about what he is doing.
What is going on here?
I don't know. Let's wait and see.
He finally notices them and decides it's time for a nap, and checks into a small motel to see what his tail does. They head to the front desk and start flashing their badges, because they are the police who are following the First Lady. She is also a private detective working with the insurance company to buy back some stolen jewelry without alerting the police, and she needed to lose her tail, so she picked a random event from the newspaper for a plausible story and hired Rockford, so the cops followed him instead, assuming he was also part of her scheme. Pretty clever. You should be taking notes. You're going to learn so many ways to get rid of a tail in this video. Rockford does discover something hinky about the suicide, though, and keeps poking around with his new sidekick, and they are about to give up when the idiots trying to cover up the murder shoots at him, and out of pure spite, Jim takes down an entire baby-selling racket. It's wild the crimes that come directly to his door, seemingly as if by fate. Like, what are the odds? One of Rocky's old friends, Pete, is panicking. He was just told his granddaughter was kidnapped and wants Jim to find her. Jim finds a tossed-up house, gets punched in the stomach, and Pete is found dead. So we probably should get the police involved, only to discover the house looks undisturbed and the granddaughter is fine. She was out of town. They quickly figure out that this was some kind of hard sell tactic to get access to his house, so they could buy up the whole neighborhood. But it really feels like they lost a plot on this one. How many guys are planning to murder to build a shopping mall or whatever? So Jim teams up with Pete's granddaughter, her name is Houston, to get these murderous weirdos off their tail, which involves pulling into a Safeway and calling a taxi to escape out the back, while Jim takes the tail on a fun little car chase to the police station. He knows it'll work because he has Houston toss a cigarette box out the window, so his tail thinks they're stopping for smokes and won't spook. And he's right. That is what they think. Jim really understands the mind of someone who is following another car. He deals with this shit all the time. Literally, not even halfway done yet. Jim has been hired to join this boys club to figure out if their after-hours card games are on the up and up. He didn't see any issues at first, but someone is following him very badly, so he stops at the Jack in the Box and orders them to call the police, and also he'd like a taco.
Are you nuts, mister? Is this a rib?
Just tell him he took a shot at me. And while you're at it, would you throw in a taco and a bag of fries?
I don't know if this is product placement or not, but it's very entertaining to see a 1970s Jack in the Box and to know they haven't really changed how their tacos look in 50 years. Also surprising that the cops actually responded to this. What on earth are they talking to her about? We got a call from a fry cook that you were following another car? Are you a criminal? Only criminals follow people in cars. This is the 70s. That's criminal behavior. Jim follows her and asks her what her problem is, and she lies to him. Everyone is lying to him. Both this lady and the man who hired him are district attorneys trying to shut down the boys club because they assume the mafia is involved. It's true, and the mafia chases Jim through the club for a while. It's a pretty fun set piece. He's got so many tricks. There's this former mafia guy, Joey Blue Eyes, who has signed a bad deal to open up a restaurant and is now about to lose it to the title company. He tries borrowing money to try and buy out the restaurant, and it only made things worse, because now the loan sharks are hassling his daughter. Jim tries to hustle with the money with his pal Angel, but isn't having a ton of success, so he comes up with a weird plan B. He pretends to be a third player in the conflict, and goes to the title company to tell them he's kidnapped Joey's daughter and wants them to pay the ransom. I don't know how this works, but they're pretty sure he's full of shit and send a guy to follow him just in case. Jim goes back to the restaurant with his tail, where the tail sees Joey Blue Eyes burst out of the restaurant and gun down Jim in the street. This somehow spooks the title company into paying the ransom for the not actually kidnapped daughter, which Rockford crawls through the sewer to collect, and they use the money to pay off the loans and give Joey full control over his restaurant. I'm glad this all worked out, although it is a little weird that the title company didn't find it odd that Joey wasn't arrested for murdering a man in the street. Everyone here is a criminal. Guess it's fair. Jim gets a job from a pretty lady who is laying it on pretty thick and gets tricked into being arrested with $100,000 in counterfeit bills. He is not happy about this and tracks her down to ask her what her problem is, only for her to be kidnapped by a couple of goons in her own car. So he's tooling around, learning more about her and this scheme she dragged him into, some property scheme or whatnot, and after getting to a fight with another PI, he notices a car is following him. So he starts to haul ass, leading them on a backroads car chase until he takes a wrong turn and runs directly into a construction crew. He jumps out of the car ready for a fight. At least he has some witnesses to him getting beat to shit. But the guys in the other car just want to take him to Karen. That's why they were chasing him. Just a perfectly reasonable car chase. How else could they have gotten a hold of him? Go to his office? Leave a message on his answering machine?
Uncle Jim? It's Ralph. I got your letter, but I moved out here anyway. I really want those detective lessons.
Anyway, they take him to Karen and she decides to murder him. So not the most harmless thing in the world. It's fine. He was wearing wire the whole time, even though it broke in the scuffle.
This is going to be a pleasure.
Rocky learns about some illegal activity while he's trying to sell tickets for the truck driver's ball. No, seriously.
Kinda hoping that maybe you'd be interested in buying yourself a pair of tickets for the Utah Ball.
Oh, what's he selling? Tickets for the Utah Ball. Come on, Jack. What are you talking about?
It's the Owner-Operator Truckers Association.
We're having a drawing for first prize, an Acme Sleeper.
So now the criminals want to find him to shut him up, and nobody knows where he is. Rockford's been looking all over for him. He's got to get to him before these goons, who knocked Jim's egg to the ground and are tailing him around town. He tricks them into getting out under an underpass and holds them at gunpoint and tells them to crawl onto their car while he lets the air out of their tires. That will surely slow them down. They're going to have to call a tow truck or something. Not to mention the danger of getting off the car's roof. Jim finds Rocky. He was at home, and he bonks Jim on the head with a frying pan. A lot of this show is just people harming Jim unnecessarily. It gets a little slapstick sometimes. Rocky actually has no idea what's going on. He thinks the people following him want to steal his truck driver's ball money. It's actually some kind of scheme to steal a bunch of big rigs and use them to move a bunch of furs from the docks. I'm not really sure what's happening. Truthfully, I'm more of a Rocky than a Jim. I'm just here for the ride.
I don't either. I never did understand. Why didn't you say so? Because Dennis said he was, and everybody else said he was, and you said he was. You guys are supposed to be the experts, but never made sense to me.
Beth has a client who has been charged with embezzlement, who is naturally in trouble with the mob. It is always the mob. There are so many people in the mob. The constant supply of 2 to 3 disposable goons following people around and pushing them up against the wall. Beth was arrested for contempt in court, so she has to spend 3 days in lockup and wants Jim to bring her some case notes. He goes to her office and gets roughed up for the privilege, and then Beth gets poisoned, and now they are being followed. These guys are real jerks. So Rockford leads them to a train yard, where he jumps out of the car and asks Beth to just drive around in circles. He's going to try something. He's going to lure them into a trap and drop a bunch of garbage on them. He gets arrested for this, but at least gets the mob off his tail for 5 minutes before they catch up with him while he's confronting Beth's client, who totally did do embezzlement, and Jim drives their car into the pool. What an afternoon for these guys. They really got their car messed up. That's going to be expensive. One of Jim's old criminal friends, Mark O'Brien, wants help. He's claiming to be a parole officer who wants to check in on one of his charges, only he's being blocked by some bad dudes, real pieces of shit, and Jim doesn't have much luck getting past them either. You'll never guess this, but Jim's friend was lying. Mark isn't a parole officer, he's a sleaze, aka a private detective, and he's living pretty large. Check out his office.
Yeah, well, we're living in the age of reason, so I try to be reasonable.
Right. Hey, that's sharp, Jim.
Yeah.
This is also a front. He doesn't have any money. He has so much not money that he can't pay Jim to save him from these cartoon stereotypes who want to beat him up. But Jim does it anyway, because he's a good person, but is going to do it in the most ridiculous way possible. So, step 1, get rid of their tail. Jim tells Mark to have his driver take him to the park and just start running. The rude dudes get out of their car and start chasing after him, and it looks bad for Mark. Jim has abandoned him after all, until we see Jim's little Pontiac Firebird ripping through the park. He scoops up Mark and heads back the way they came, snatching the keys out of the bad guy's car and tossing him into the woods. It's an absolute wild plan that must really be held on his struts, but it's got style, and the radness of this plan almost kills this man. Step 2 involves figuring out exactly what is happening, which is that several feuding companies want to be awarded the team by the sports commissioner, and this somehow ends up with the commissioner dead and Mark in hot water. Jim doesn't really feel like solving the case, so step 3 is just having Mark call all the possible suspects to come meet him in a dark alley to buy the evidence of their guilt, so the real killer will just come to them. Sure, he'll try to kill Mark first, but hey, Jim's not in danger, so it works out. Jim is even bummed to discover who the killer is, as the man had promised him $20,000 before.
You all right in there? I think so. Get me out of here.
What's wrong?
Hey, where are all the cops?
I'm about ready to call him.
You're about ready to call them?
Yeah.
There are a lot of other wacky things that happen in Season 2 of the Rockford Files. Nothing too ridiculous. Okay, maybe the episode where Lieutenant Becker gets scammed into buying a 3% share of the lobby of a condominium full of retired mobsters. So Jim comes up with this really weird scheme where he gets all of his buddies together to put up an oil derrick in the condo's front yard in an attempt to irritate the owners enough to get a sizable payout. You know, a scam, a hoodwink, real bunko artist over here. He's able to do this with absolutely zero consequences. Doesn't even once get punched in the stomach. He gets to spend the week luxuriating at this mansion they are renting to really sell the obvious scam they are doing. He is being funded by Lieutenant Becker, an officer of the law. Eternal Affairs is going to be extremely interested in what Dennis is up to with his ex-con friend who everyone else in the precinct hates. He's taking a lieutenant's exam. People are going to ask questions. And Rockford hooks up with one of the perpetuators of the original scam who decided to switch sides because she loves a scammer, and it also gives her a chance to lounge around in a mansion all day. All she has to endure is Jim being a bit of an asshole to her for about 5 minutes. It does work out and Dennis gets all his money back and everyone collects a paycheck for that week they pretend to be probing for oil in front of a bunch of frustrated Goombas. This guy swoops in and demands to buy the rights away from Rockford, even though Rockford instantly breaks character and tells him that it was a scam. He doesn't want to drag this guy into it. But he insists, because the episode is almost over, and besides, they just struck oil. This is clearly just water. Even Rockford knows that this is just the water main. Sounds like even more crime. Is that not public property? I don't feel like you can tap the water main for a bit. Feels like you require permits for that. There are 2 separate episodes where Rockford gets dragged into a small town scam. Once because it was traveling with 10 crisp $1,000 bills and wanted to store them somewhere secure, and insists that the guy who does not seem to work at the land office let him use their safe.
$10,000?
That's right. It's signed for by Murray Johnson.
And just who the devil is Murray Johnson?
This feels like your fault, Rockford. You could have kept it in your shoe or something. What exactly were you afraid of? 3 dudes breaking into your room and stealing your stuff?
Hey! You're breaking my...
Oh. Okay, this didn't happen at the land office town, where he was collateral for a real estate scheme imploding on itself. This happened when he was the target of the scam, when his car broke down near this small county town where they implicate him for both drug dealing and statutory rape, trying to get him to settle for a few $1,000s so he can escape this bum rap, all orchestrated by the mayor as a town revitalization initiative. Kinda like Breaker Breaker, the Chuck Norris movie where he's a heroic trucker who needs to save his brother from this creepy little town that commandeers trucks full of frozen dinners to feed the town. But Rockford does not get out of this the same way, which is by summoning the area truckers via CB radio to come and destroy the town. No, he just works with the authorities. Turns out it is not legal to use the power of the state to squeeze money out of people in the 70s. Sometimes things were better, you know? There's an episode with this real asshole King Sturnivan, the quarterback of a minor league team who was in trouble with some mob bookies after being just the most obnoxious guy.
Waiting for me.
I don't think I even know you.
That was cute. That little thing you did with your head. The only thing that spoils it is you got crummy teeth. Don't worry about it, though. I know a guy can put caps on there like he was spreading butter.
Will you leave me alone, please?
You probably didn't recognize me. I'm King Sturtevant. Lisa.
Hi.
I got to talk to you.
Dick Butkus, this is Larry Sturtevant.
Great. Mr. Butkus, great to see you. You got a mustache. We both.
He drags Rockford into the scheme by literally picking his name out of the phone book. I think you need to rethink your Yellow Pages presence, Rockford. I think the words criminal only is drawing the wrong sort of attention. There's an episode where Angel was so stupid that he helped a guy frame him for stealing his employer's cash flow. So they have to fake Angel's death so they can do the exchange at the funeral, and in the ensuing shenanigans, Rockford somehow ends up with a briefcase full of fake plates. Then there's this really weird episode where Rockford becomes the unwitting accomplice to an international jewelry heist gone wrong, where he's hired to purchase 3 bird statues, one after the other, which is assumed to be reproduction of this famous set of bird statues, the Labrini cormorants. Everyone wants these bird statues, in case they're actually the original set of bird statues, and Rockford spends the whole time confused by the art world.
Oh, I see. Which theory do you support?
Well, I think 18, 19 at the most. I think 24 is just out of the question. Well, you see, I know how slowly he worked, and I just don't think he could have ever done 24.
I've written 5 papers supporting the 24 theory, but of course you knew that.
Of course. I was just fooling.
It's a huge hassle for him, goons pushing him over in the parking lot, and everyone keeps trying to break these potentially priceless artifacts. This is because they were supposed to be swapped out with bird statues that have expensive jewels in them, but that got botched when the original bagman jumped off the roof at the London airport. So these statues that people keep smashing to pieces are the original Labrini cormorants, worth millions. And this whole wacky scheme is brought to us by Mr. Feeney just being a real British asshole.
I'm rather adept with passkeys, Mr. Rockford. I was one of the few Americans assigned to British intelligence during the war.
Good show, that. Do you mind making yourself a little less at home?
Sure. Love to watch some more Rockford. This guy is charming. I like his smarmy manner, and his supporting cast is great. A lot of weird guys show up. The character development is strong. I could put up with the villain being revealed to be the Mafia again. I'm starting to trust this Stephen J. Cannell fellow. He knows how to develop a detective. I got nothing else to say, Spirit of Columbo, to you all. Now please enjoy Every Time Rockford Eats Something in Season 2.
I should have known if you said you were buying me something like this.
Best tacos in town.
Stomach ever rebel eating that stuff?
Not after 8 in the morning, no.
I'll be right here. I'll just hang around here.